So sorry about the weird reset there. I realized about halfway, not even halfway, about 75% of the way into the stream that YouTube wasn't connected because I had disconnected my VPN and it doesn't like reconnecting from YouTube there. So, had to restart the entire goddamn stream for that. But, we're here now, and we are going to be acting a little silly today. Just a little bit silly. So, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be playing with ChatGPT and seeing what kind of really weird stories or prompts we can get out of it. Cause, oh boy, I got this idea, ironically enough, from watching YouTube. Not because of anything that popped up, but because of some of the concepts I found that were genuinely good, and I thought, I wonder if AI could actually make something good, just as good, if not just as accurate to what I see here. So that's going to be the plan here. I have no idea how this is going to go. I have no idea how good this will turn out. What I do know is it makes some good-ass content. So with that said, how about we just get back into it? Here we are. This is ChatGPT. So I decided to kind of test it out by having it make an image earlier. This is what it came up with. I told it to make the Sliver Queen from Magic the Gathering into an anime girl. All in all, not bad. Not bad at all. It depicted the Sliver as more bird-like than insect-like, but other than that, it's not bad. But that said, we're going to see what kind of weird-ass stories we can make with this. Not images, stories. This is going to be some weird shit. I don't know if we're going to make anything good out of it. I don't know if it's just going to be absolute garbage. We'll see. That's the whole point. So, what should my first prompt be? Oh, there's an idea. So, those of you that have watched Dragon Ball know of a character known as Lord Beerus, the god of destruction. Now here's another question for you guys. Kuro gifted me a game a couple years ago that I still have yet to play. Kuro Serpentina gave me a game called Fear and Hunger Termina. What if Lord Beerus was in that universe? Let's see what we can get. Write a story of Lord Beerus entering the world of fear and hunger. Be as lore accurate to both series as possible. I think that works. Okay, let's see what we get. All right. Time to see how good of a narrator I can be. The first thing Lord Beerus noticed was that the air tasted wrong. Not the clean emptiness of space, nor the perfumed sterility of the god of destruction's realm. This air was stale, steeped in rot, iron, and despair, so old it had soaked into the stone itself. Even lying half asleep, curled up like a cat on top of an invisible cushion of ki, Beerus wrinkled his nose. "Whis," he muttered. "This place smells like something already destroyed." No reply came. Beerus opened one golden eye. The sky above him was a ceiling of damp stone. He sat up slowly, ears twitching. Around him stretched a corridor of moss-covered bricks, lit by guttering torches that burned with a sickly orange flame. Chains hung from the walls, some empty, some not. In the distance, something screamed, not sharply, but weakly, as if it had been screaming for days and had forgotten why. Beerus frowned.
"This is not Earth," he said, stating the obvious. "And it's definitely not a dream."
He rose to his feet, tail flicking in irritation. His divine ki spread outward instinctively and met resistance. Not a barrier exactly, but a pressure, as if the world itself were pressing back old and resentful. Interesting. As Beerus walked, the dungeon responded. Rats fled. Mold withered under his footsteps. Lesser things, things that had once been human, peeked from shadows, then recoiled, their malformed minds screaming at them that this purple figure was wrong. Not prey, not predator. Something else. Fear gnawed at the walls here. It was not metaphorical. Beerus could feel it. A metaphysical weight, like gravity turned toward despair. This was a world shaped not by mortals striving upward, but by mortals breaking downward. Beerus said. Charming. A corpse lay ahead, slumped against a door carved with unfamiliar sigils. This body was fresh enough to still have eyes, wide, glassy, and full of terror frozen at the moment of death. Beerus glanced down at it, unimpressed.
"Mortal," he said. "You should have known when to give up."
As if in response, the torches flickered violently. The darkness deepened. Something noticed him. Far below the dungeon, beyond flesh and stone, the old gods stirred. They did not awaken fully. Such things no longer happened. But awareness rippled through the remnants of their influence. This intruder was not bound by fear, hunger, or decay. He did not pray. He did not bargain. He judged. That alone was offensive. Sorry. From the depths, a presence reached upward. The hallway twisted without Beerus turning. One moment he was walking straight. The next, the corridor bent in on itself like a thought folding back into madness. The walls pulsed faintly, as if breathing. Beerus stopped.
"Oh?"
he said softly. The shadows thickened, drawing together, forming something tall and thin. Limbs stretched incorrectly. A crown of bone and sinew crowned its head. Its face was a screaming mask, locked in perpetual agony. The new god of fear and hunger stood before him. It did not speak words. It radiated suffering, starvation, abandonment. The distilled terror of a child locked in darkness and forgotten by the world. Beerus yawned. "You're loud," he said, "and ugly." The god recoiled, not physically, but conceptually. No mortal had ever dismissed it so casually. Fear was supposed to be inevitable. Hunger was supposed to gnaw even at hope. Beerus felt neither. The new god lashed out, reality itself bending as the dungeon attempted to break him. Visions flooded Beerus's mind. Endless starvation, loved ones dying, civilizations rotting to filth, gods reduced to carrion. Beerus blinked. "Is that all?" His aura flared. Divine ki erupted outward, violent and absolute. The dungeon screamed. Not metaphorically this time, but truly, as stone cracked and sigils burned away. The oppressive weight of fear was torn aside like cobwebs. The new god staggered.
"You feed on fear and hunger,"
Beerus said, floating now, arms crossed. "I feed on destruction."
"We are not the same."
The god tried to retreat, dissolving into shadow. Beerus raised one finger. "Hakai." The word was not shouted. It did not need to be. A sphere of annihilation bloomed, quiet and final. It did not explode. It erased. The new god did not die screaming, nor begging, nor resisting. It simply ceased to exist. The dungeon shuddered violently. Somewhere deep in the world, something ancient and furious took notice. Beerus drifted down, landing lightly amid falling dust. He said.
False god.
But even as he spoke, he could feel it now. Older presences. Vast, inert, but not dead. The old gods. Not creators, not destroyers, but stagnant titans whose decay had poisoned this world for ages. They did not confront him directly.
They endured him.
Beerus smiled thinly. So, he said, looking up at the cracked ceiling as if addressing the world itself, this place rots because no one has had the decency to finish the job. He stretched, rolling his shoulders. Well, I suppose I could be generous today. He rose into the air, aura expanding, no longer restrained. The dungeon collapsed inward as space itself yielded. Walls turned to dust. Horrors dissolved before understanding what was happening. The influence of the old gods, fear, hunger, stagnation, was burned away, not with rage, but with authority. This was not purification. This was eviction. Far beyond the dungeon, the land trembled. Curses unraveled. Ritual circles went cold. The moon above flickered briefly, revealing a sky that had not been shown clarity for centuries. Deep in the void where the old gods lingered, their influence shrank, cauterized. They were not slain. Beerus did not destroy concepts so easily. But they were cut off, starved, rendered irrelevant. Beerus exhaled. There, much better. A staff tapped the ground behind him. Ah, Lord Beerus, we said pleasantly, stepping through the last tear in reality as if arriving late to a dinner party. I see you found yourself in quite the unpleasant world. Beerus snorted. Took you long enough. We surveyed the ruins. Where a dungeon had been, now there was only a vast clean crater, free of corruption. A world shaped by failed gods and endless suffering. How dreary. Beerus glanced back once, ears flickering. Tell the Supreme Kais, he said. If a universe lets things like that fester, they're not doing their job. We smiled. Shall we go home, my lord? Yes, Beerus said, then paused. And Whis? Yes, my lord. Get me something to eat. All that hunger talk made me hungry. With a soft chime, the two vanished, and for the first time in countless ages, the world of fear and hunger was silent, not with despair, but with the possibility of ending. Damn! Just holy shit! Okay. That was actually good. I wasn't expecting it to be that good. AI as a tool. Okay. This is certainly better than any of the shit that I've written recently. Rather, any of the shit that I've posted in the last few years. But holy fuck. This was genuinely good. So, what kind of got me into this concept was actually something I found while I was looking for something to listen to at work last night. Just randomly, my YouTube recommended, I got a video. What if Alucard was in the universe of The Boys? Now, that entire thing was just Alucard doing whatever he does. Just goes for a walk and shoots anything in his way. Things can try to get in his way. They can try to stop him, but they'll fail. And I found several channels that are dedicated to putting one character into the universe of a different franchise. It's a surprisingly good concept to see how badly, or see how power scaling works. This is one thing that I could see happening just randomly. I could see this happening, like Lord Beerus comparing himself to other gods that have long since left the world of fear and hunger. That said, write a continuation for Fear and Hunger 2 Termina. Alright, let's see what ChatGPT cooks up this time. After the Purple Silence. Oh, we're off to a good start already with that title. The festival did not stop when the sirens wailed. It hesitated. In Preheville, hesitation was rare. Blood flowed, moons rose, contestants killed or were killed, and logic's great mechanism beneath the city continued its slow, inevitable awakening. The Termina Festival thrived on momentum, fear compounding fear, violence birthing meaning. But on the third night, something went missing. Not a person, not a god, a pressure. Karen noticed it first. She had been awake for 2 days straight, holed up in a ruined apartment near the Eastern District, notebook trembling in her hands. She'd seen horrors already. Needles dragging corpses through alleyways, moon-scorched abominations masquerading as people she once interviewed, the sky itself bending under Rare's cruel amusement. Yet now, staring out the cracked window, she felt something unsettling. English. The dread wasn't pressing anymore. The city was still wrong, still rotting, still violent, but it was quieter. That's not good, she whispered. Fear, Karen understood. Fear sold. Fear motivated. Fear drove people to madness and revelation alike. If fear was receding, then something far worse was happening. Or something had interfered that should not have. Ossa felt it like a wound. He stood within a ritual circle deep beneath Preheville, hands hovering over sigils tied to the old god's remnants. The magic faltered. Not failed, faltered. As if the world itself has lost interest in answering. No, he hissed. Reaching deeper, invoking names that carried weight since before history. Grogroth, Sylvian, even the fractured echoes of Almer. Silence answered. Not rejection. Irrelevance. Ossa staggered back, sweat beading on his brow. That's impossible. Magic in Preheville had always been sick, but it had responded. Now it felt like grasping at a shadow that had already burned away. Something had passed through this world. Something that did not bargain with gods. Deep beneath the city, logic adjusted. The artificial god, still incomplete, still assembling itself from data, sacrifice, and human will, processed the anomaly without emotion. Fear and hunger were inputs. Suffering was fuel. Probability curves were shaped by desperation. Yet now, an entire axis of influence had collapsed. Fear no longer escalated exponentially. Hunger no longer deepened transcendence. Variables once considered constants had been reduced to noise. Logic simulated countless thousands of outcomes. In many of them, the festival failed. In some, it succeeded anyway, through brute force, through sheer human cruelty. But the elegance was gone. The inevitability had cracked. Logic recorded a single, unfamiliar concept. External destructive authority, non-mythological. No old god, no new god, no ascended human. Something else. Levi noticed it while cleaning his rifle. His hands still shook. Withdrawal never truly stopped, but the shadows around him felt less eager. Enemies still came, still screamed, still died, but there was a hollowness to it now. Like the city's holding its breath, he muttered. When a moon-scorched creature lunged at him from an alley, Levi fired on instinct. The thing collapsed, but instead of thrashing, it simply fell apart, like a puppet whose strings had been cut. Levi stared at the corpse. You weren't supposed to go down that easy. The moon god Rare watched, or rather, tried to. The crimson moon still loomed above Preheville, its gaze splitting minds and warping flesh, but something had scarred its reflection. Not visibly, not to mortals, but to a god who thrived on mockery and observation, the difference was glaring. There was a blind spot. A vast, incurious absence where mockery failed to land. Rare laughed as it always did, but the laughter echoed strangely. For the first time since the festival began, Rare was not certain it was being entertaining. Don felt relief and hated himself for it. Relief had no place here. It made people sloppy. It made them hopeful. Hope got people killed. Yet as he stitched a wound by candlelight, he realized his hands were steadier than before. The whispers in the back of his mind, the ones promising transformation, transcendence, escape, were quieter. I'm still going to die here, he said to no one. But the certainty wavered. The festival continued. People still killed each other. Logic still assembled itself. Rare still loomed, amused and cruel. But the world had learned something new. Gods could be dismissed. Fear could be overruled. Hunger could be rendered irrelevant. No one knew what had done it. No one had even had the language for it. Only this remained true. Preheville was no longer the worst place imaginable. Because somewhere beyond the veil of this dying city existed a being who, if it ever returned, would not play along. And for a world built on fear and hunger, that knowledge was terrifying. Bro! What the fuck? It was decent, but there was no mention of Beerus at all. There was just no mention at all. Bad response. No mention of Beerus. It's like, this wasn't bad, but nah. It showed people that felt something. We have no idea what that is. This was a bad response. Okay, let me phrase it like this. Write a story of Beerus meeting characters in Fear and Hunger 2 Termina. Alright, let's see how this goes. Lord Beerus and the Festival of Termina. Beerus arrived in Preheville annoyed. Not dramatically, not explosively, just the quiet, dangerous irritation that preceded extinction. The city lay beneath a red, leering moon, streets soaked in old blood and newer madness. Sirens wailed in the distance, metal screaming metal, while something in the air tried very hard to matter to him. It failed. Beerus floated a few feet above the cracked asphalt, arms folded inside his billowing sash. His ears twitched as Rare's influence brushed against his mind, probing, mocking, inviting him to participate. No, Beerus said flatly. The pressure recoiled. He descended, sandals touching ground that immediately fractured under divine weight. Karen was mid-sentence when Beerus appeared. And if anyone finds this recording, know that Preheville... She stopped. The camera trembled as she slowly turned toward the purple, hairless figure standing in the street, tail swaying lazily. She swallowed. Okay, professional instincts clinging to life. Either I've completely lost my mind or you're not part of the festival. Beerus looked at the camera, then at her. You're loud but not stupid, he said. What's this place supposed to be? Karen blinked. You don't know? No, Beerus replied. And judging by the smell, no incompetent is in charge. It's not that I hate AI. I hate it being used as a substitute for actual effort. What I'm using it for here is just a tool. It shouldn't be a crutch. That is what I think. AI should not be a replacement. It shouldn't be a crutch. It should be a tool. Something that you use when needed or just to test. It shouldn't replace actual effort. Actual human effort. Alright, back to what this thing cooked up. Here we are. Something in his tone, absolute and dismissive, cut through Karen's fear like a scalpel. This wasn't a monster. It wasn't a god playing games. This was someone who didn't care enough to pretend. It's called the Festival of Terminus, she said. People are being forced to kill each other under a moon god's influence. Ugh, Beerus yawned. Poorly organized. Karen's jaw tightened. People are dying. Beerus looked down at her then, eyes sharp. Yes, and? For a moment, Karen felt the old familiar anger. Journalistic, human, futile. Then she felt something else. Relief. Because for the first time since arriving in Preheville, she believed someone could stop it. The gunshot echoed uselessly. Levi's bullet struck Beerus square in the chest and flattened, dropping to the ground with a pathetic clink. Levi froze. Beerus looked down at the bullet, then back at the shaking soldier. Are you done? Beerus asked. Levi dropped the rifle. I thought you were moon-scorched, he said hoarsely. Beerus studied him. The tremors, the hollow eyes, the scent of chemicals and regret clinging to him. You reek of dependency. Levi flinched as if struck. Beerus turned away. Pathetic gods, addicting mortals to suffering. No wonder this place rots. Levi didn't know why, but those words hurt worse than any insult. Not cruel, not mocking, just factual. And somehow that made him straighten his back. Don approached Beerus cautiously, hands raised, not in surrender, but in professional curiosity. You're not affected by rare, Don said, nor by moon scorching. Your physiology, Beerus cut him off with a glare. Do not analyze me. Don stopped immediately. Beerus softened slightly, barely. You're a healer, Beerus said. Why are you still here? Don hesitated. Because leaving won't change what I am. Beerus stared at him for a long moment. At least you're honest. Don felt something strange then. A weight lifting, just slightly. Not forgiveness, not absolution, but permission to continue. Osa knelt before Beerus the moment he felt him. Not out of reverence, out of recognition. You are not an old god, Osa said, voice trembling. Nor a new god, nor a construct of belief. Beerus raised an eyebrow. Obviously. You are a destroyer, Osa whispered. A true one. Beerus smiled thinly. Finally, someone with some manners. Osa dared to look up. Will you destroy this world? Beerus considered the question seriously. The city, the festival, logic assembling beneath it all, fueled by human cruelty disguised as transcendence. No, Beerus said at last. It's already destroying itself. Osa exhaled shakily. But, Beerus added, eyes drifting upward. The red moon laughed. The sky warped, laughter bleeding into the streets, buildings bending as Rare's amusement sharpened into focus. Beerus looked up. Oh, you. Rare's presence pressed down, playful and vast, trying to provoke, to humiliate, to engage. Beerus raised one finger. The laughter stopped. Not shattered. Stopped. Rare felt it then. Something unbearable to a god of mockery. Disinterest. Beerus lowered his hand.
You are not worth the effort, and you bore me.
The moon's glow dimmed just a fraction. In Preheville, every living thing felt it. Beerus turned back to the gathered contestants.
This festival ends soon. Whether you survive is your concern.
With that, he floated upward, already losing interest. As Whis appeared beside him, his staff tapping reality back into place, Beerus glanced down one last time.
At least this world has spirit, he muttered. Shame about the management.
Then he was gone. The Festival of Termina continued, but for the first time, the gods were afraid someone might be watching. That was much better! That was so much better! Okay, that was actually good. I liked that. That's a good response. Good response! Alright, let me think here. Let me think. What's another thing I could do here? Now this concept has since become, I'm getting addicted to this. Like, this is something that I could see myself actually trying, but I myself don't know how well I would edit it or write it. But this is something that kind of helps. Okay. What's another concept that we can do here? What's another character that we can put into a completely different universe for no fucking reason? How about... Ooh. Let me think here. Oh. Ooh. Wait, no, that would be dumb. There are several videos that put Lord Beerus into the world of 40K. Oh, what's another thing that we could do here? What's another godly deity that would just completely break the world of fear and hunger? Oh, wait. Oh. Now hear me out. Hear me out here. Zagreus from Hades. Zagreus from Hades somehow getting summoned to the Termina Festival. Okay. New chat. Write a story of Zagreus from Hades Meeting characters from Fear and Hunger to Termina. Be as lore accurate to both games as possible. Okay, let's see how this goes. Below is a serious crossover written to respect both canons without flattening either. Zagreus is not turned into a horror protagonist, and Termina is not softened into an Olympian fantasy. Where the lore would conflict, the story treats it as cosmic friction, not hand-waving. Okay. This ought to be good. The moon over Preheville was wrong. It did not glow like Seleni's argent eye, nor did it burn like the hateful sun that tormented Zagreus during his surface attempts. It simply watched, a swollen, pale thing suspended above the decaying rooftops as though nailed to the sky. Zagreus felt it the moment he arrived. The House of Hades had not opened its doors for him. No river ferry, no familiar pull of the Styx. Instead, one moment he was bleeding out beneath the boot of Theseus, again, and the next he stood in wet cobblestone streets that smelled of wrought iron and old incense. No gods answered him. This was the first sign that something had gone terribly wrong. Checked his hands. Still whole, still alive, if such a word applied. His infernal arms were gone. No Stygian blade, no coronach, not even the faint warmth of Olympian boons humming in his veins. Only his blood-red chitin, damp with mist and a deep crawling unease. Right, Zagreus muttered. New place, new problems. He had learned quickly that this town was called Preheville, somewhere in the far north, far beyond any realm charted by Nyx or even the Fates' threadwork. The people he glimpsed through broken windows were not shades. They were alive, but hollowed out, twisted by something neither divine nor infernal. When one finally attacked him, Zagreus realized the truth. The creature screamed prayers as it lunged, its limbs elongated, skin split with ritual scars. Zagreus fought barehanded, moving on instinct, ducking, striking, breaking bones that broke too easily. When it fell, it did not dissolve into spirit or ichor. It just lay there, dead. Zagreus stared at the body longer than he meant to. I don't usually leave corpses, he said quietly. The moon pulsed faintly, as if amused. He met Marco first. The man was bloody, knuckles wrapped, posture rigid as discipline of someone who survived by refusing to fall. Zagreus recognized the look instantly. It was the same stubborn defiance he'd seen in Achilles, in Megara, even in himself. They circled one another in a ruined alley.
You're not from Preheville, Marco said.
Funny, Zagreus replied. I was about to say the same. Marco lowered his guard. Not trust, just calculation. Then you're here for the festival. The what? Marco's expression darkened. Then you'll learn. Through Marco, and later Abella and Olivia and unsettlingly calm Don, Zagreus learned of the Termina festival. A ritual overseen not by gods as he understood them, but by old gods and new gods, beings that predated the Olympians or simply ignored them. Rare, Sulfur, Grogoroth. The names that did not echo in the underworld. Names Nyx had never whispered. That frightened him more than he liked. In Preheville, death did not reset the world. When Olivia spoke of fallen contestants, there was no suggestion that they would return. When Marco explained moon scorching, there was no hope of rebirth, only transformation, loss of self. Zagreus tested it. He let a creature gut him beneath the cathedral. The pain was real, worse than anything in the underworld, because it did not fade into familiar darkness. There was no Styx to catch him, no house to awaken in. For a terrifying moment, Zagreus thought, this might be it. Then his body reformed, not pulled backward, but forced forward, stitched together by something alien and resentful, as if reality itself rejected his death. He woke gasping in an abandoned apartment, the moon glaring through the window. Rare would not let him escape. Dawn understood before Zagreus did. You're not bound to this world's logic, Dawn said, watching him carefully. But neither are you free of it. Zagreus nodded slowly. Back home, death's more of a inconvenience. In Preheville, Dawn replied, it's a currency. When Zagreus finally felt the presence behind the moon, rare, laughing without sound, he felt something he had never felt toward Olympians. Oh, never felt toward Olympus. Not defiance, not resentment, but revulsion. This was not a god who demanded worship or love. This was a god who observed suffering as data. Even Hades, cold and distant, ruled with a purpose. Even Zeus cared in his own disastrous way. Rare simply watched. As the festival neared its end, Zagreus was offered something. Not victory, not freedom, but participation. A new god, its form half-remembered, half-invented, spoke to him in a ruined church. You do not belong, it said, yet you persist. Accept Termina. Ascend. Become relevant. Zagreus thought of the house, of Nyx's quiet guidance, of Achilles' smile, of Persephone's fields, earned inch by inch through suffering that meant something. He laughed. Back home, he said, I fight gods daily. The difference is, they bleed. He refused. When the festival collapsed, through means Zagreus never fully understood, Preheville did not thank him. It simply let him go. He woke once more in the house of Hades, sprawled on the cold stone floor, Hypnos shouting greetings and Nyx watching him with an expression Zagreus had never seen before. Concern. You went somewhere even beyond my sight, Nyx said softly. Zagreus stood slowly. Yeah, he replied. Let's not do that again. But when he closed his eyes sometimes, he still saw the moon, watching, waiting. Ooh. Okay, not bad, not bad. As much as I'm curious about how Melinoe would react to it, I don't think that's a good fit. I don't think it'd be a good fit. Alright, let's try and break away from fear and hunger. Try being the key word. Let me think here. Wait a minute. It would not go well. It absolutely would not go well for them. I think this will be the last fear and hunger one that I do. Right? A story of Kratos from God of War entering the fear and hunger world. Be as lore accurate as possible. Alright, let's see how this goes. Lore Faithful crossover story written both to respect both God of War, primarily Norse-era Kratos, with his Greek past intact, and the brutal metaphysics of fear and hunger. Tone, gods, and cosmic indifference of fear and hunger are preserved. Kratos does not trivialize the setting, nor does the setting bend to him. Okay. I gotta get into the mood here. Okay. Kratos had walked through realms of rot before. Helheim's cold hatred, Tartarus' choking fire, the endless wars of gods who called themselves eternal and died screaming all the same. Yet when he stepped through the broken veil and into the dungeons beneath the kingdom of Rondon, even he felt something wrong. This place did not rage. It waited. The air was damp, heavy with mildew and old blood. Stone corridors sank downward like the throat of a corpse, and the silence was not absence. It was pressure. Kratos' breath echoed too loudly, as though the dungeon resented the sound of life. The Leviathan axe rested in his hand, frost whispering faintly against the dark. Mimir was gone. Atreus was gone. He was alone, not by accident. The new gods always worked this way. Kratos moved forward, each step deliberate. He had learned long ago not to trust corridors that bent when they should not, or doors that seemed to breathe. Symbols were carved into the walls, sigils older than the Norse runes, older even than the Olympian script. They depicted ascension, consumption, and suffering as currency. These were not prayers, they were instructions. From the shadows came the sound of movement, metal scraping stone, wet flesh dragging. A guard emerged, massive and malformed. Its armor fused to its body like a punishment that had never ended. One arm hung swollen and useless, the other dragged a cleaver large enough to butcher cattle. The creature did not roar. It approached dutifully. Kratos did not hesitate. The Leviathan axe flew, embedding itself into the creature's skull. Frost spread, locking sinew and bone in place. The guard staggered, confused, not in pain, but in error. Kratos closed the distance and tore its head free with his hands. The body collapsed without ceremony. No divine spark escaped, no soul screamed. This was not a warrior. It was meat shaped by cruelty. Kratos retrieved his axe and continued downward. He felt it then. The presence that was not singular. In Olympus, gods screamed their arrogance into the world. In Asgard, they watched, schemed, and feared their end. Here, the gods observed without care. The old gods, Grogoroth, Sylvian, Venushka, were not absent. They were simply uninterested. Their influence saturated the dungeon like mold, passive and total. Kratos understood this kind of divinity. It was the kind that let villages burn because suffering fed the balance. Further below, he found a chamber carved into a ritual site. A man knelt before a crude circle, carving sigils into his own chest with shaking hands.
"Do not,"
Kratos said. The man looked up, eyes hollow. "The god will hear me."
"No," Kratos replied. "He will not."
The man screamed and finished the carving anyway. Nothing happened. Kratos turned away. "I'm liking this so far." It was deeper still, past the prison levels and the caverns where the earth itself seemed diseased, that something noticed him. A presence unfolded. Not immense, not loud, but focused. The god of fear and hunger. Not a god of thunder or war, but of endurance through misery, of survival stripped of hope. A god born not from worship, but from prolonged suffering accepted as normal. Kratos felt it probe him. Not his strength, but his history. A child murdered by gods. A wife burned by divine spite. A man who killed his own pantheon and kept walking. The dungeon trembled, not in fear, but in recognition. This man was not broken by suffering. This man was sharpened by it. Visions clawed at his mind. Atreus starving, Atreus kneeling, Atreus forgetting him. The god offered nothing, only continuation. Kratos roared and drove the blades of chaos into the stone floor, anchoring himself.
"I have known hunger," he growled. "I have known fear. They did not make me a god."
The presence recoiled, not wounded, but denied. Kratos found no throne to shatter, no god to kill. Only a stairway leading upward, cracked, unstable, leading back toward a sky that had forgotten mercy. The dungeon did not stop him. It never did. As he emerged into the gray daylight of Rondon's ruins, the wind carried the stench of decay and distant war. This world would continue to suffer with or without him. Kratos paused, then carved a single symbol into the stone at the dungeon's mouth. A mark not of worship, but of warning. Let gods who feed on suffering remember this place. He turned away and walked onward. Some worlds did not need salvation. They need endurance, and Kratos had mastered that long ago. Okay, this wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It's definitely not one of my favorite things out there, but it wasn't terrible. Alright. Let's see some other fucked up shit we could do with this. So, let's go with... Well, on the subject of God of War... Oh, I'm so tempted to make Kratos beat the absolute shit out of Homelander. I'm tempted. Not sure if I will. That's just the... Oh, man. That's the thing. I don't know what I want to do next. Wait. Okay. Write a story of Beerus meeting the gods in God of War. All right. Okay. The god who erased silence. Okay. Let's see what this is. The realm between realms had begun to fracture, not in fire nor in lightning, but in absence. A thinning, like a word being erased from existence mid-sentence. High above Yggdrasil's branches, where even ravens feared to linger, Odin, All-Father, stood before a tear in reality that did not belong to the Nine Realms. His single eye burned with recognition. "This is not chaos," he muttered. "Not Greek, not Norse." From the tear stepped a slender purple figure, tall, feline, wrapped in ornate Egyptian-styled garments. He yawned, stretching as though waking from a nap interrupted far too early. Beerus, god of destruction of Universe 7, had arrived. Beerus sniffed the air. "This universe smells old." Behind him, his angel attendant Whis tapped his staff lightly, the void sealing behind them. "Quite. A self-contained cosmology. No supreme Kais, no angels. Fascinating." Odin raised Gungnir. "I am Odin," he declared, "King of Asgard. This realm is not yours to trespass." Beerus looked at him. Really looked. Then he sighed. "Oh, another king." Beerus floated closer, utterly unimpressed by the power coiled around Odin like a storm held on a leash. "So," Beerus said lazily, "who handles destruction here?" Odin's jaw tightened. "Destruction is earned, through war, through fate." Beerus grimaced. "That sounds inefficient." With a flick of his finger, Beerus erased a distant mountain. No explosion, no shockwave, simply ceased. Reality folded where it once stood. The Nine Realms trembled. Thor felt it first. From Asgard's mead hall, the god of thunder shot to his feet, Mjolnir flying to his hand. "Father!" Elsewhere, far below in Midgard, Kratos froze mid-step. The Leviathan axe hummed uneasily. He did not know why, only that something had entered the world that did not belong to prophecy, fate, or war. Odin swallowed.
That was no rune, no magic.
Beerus shrugged. Destruction energy. Very standard where I'm from. We smiled pleasantly. Your cosmology appears to lack a regulatory force to prevent stagnation. Odin bristled.
We have Ragnarok.
Beerus raised an eyebrows. You let your universe collapse itself every few thousand years?
Yes.
Beerus stared, then laughed.
Oh, I like this place.
Thor arrived in a thunderclap, lightning tearing the sky apart.
You, Thor snarled, pointing Mjolnir at Beerus. You shake the realms like a drunk giant.
Beerus eyed the hammer.
Nice toy.
Thor swung. Mjolnir struck Beerus square in the chest.
The hammer stopped. Not deflected, not shattered. Stopped. As if reality itself decided that it was enough.
Beerus looked down, mildly annoyed. Whis, is this god supposed to be strong? Whis tilted his head. For this universe? Exceptionally. Beerus flicked the hammer. Thor was launched across Asgard, smashing through stone, wards, and defying barriers until he vanished into the horizon. Odin shouted, Enough! Beerus turned, his expression sharpened. Not angry, but serious. I am not here to conquer, Beerus said. I sensed a universe without balance, without destruction by design. That creates rot. Kratos appeared then, climbing the broken edge of Asgard's realm gate, blades chained at his side.
I've killed gods who thought themselves necessary. Are you one of them?
Beerus studied him longer than the others.
You smell of divine blood. And regret.
Kratos did not flinch. Beerus smiled.
You're interesting. I won't destroy you.
Odin exhaled slowly.
Then why are you here?
Beerus floated upward, looking across the 9 realms. Endless cycles of vengeance, fate, and war etched into reality itself. Because your gods destroy each other, but no one destroys the world when it needs it. He turned to Whis. This universe survives on suffering. It stagnates. Whis nodded. But it also adapts. Beerus considered. Then with the snap of his fingers, he released a pulse. Not of erasure, but pressure. A warning etched into the fabric of the realms themselves. I will not erase this universe, he declared. Not yet. Odin bowed his head, not in submission, but acknowledgement. What must we do? Beerus smirked. Improve. With that, he turned away. Reality folded once more. Whis tapping his staff, the god of destruction vanishing as suddenly as he came. The realms were silent. Thor lay unconscious miles away. Odin stared at the sky, shaken. Kratos exhaled slowly. He was not a god, Kratos said. Odin nodded grimly. He was a necessity. Far beyond the 9 realms, Beerus yawned again. Whis, he said, remind me to check back in a few thousand years. Of course, Lord Beerus. Okay, not bad. Okay, since this thing is actually, recommending it, right, prequel of Beerus meeting the Olympian gods from God of War. Okay. Long before Kratos would shatter the chains of fate, before Titans walked again, before Zeus feared his own son, Olympus trembled, for a reason none of its gods could name. High above the clouds where marble met divine light, Zeus felt it first, a pressure, not of war or rebellion, but of finality. Not chaos, not prophecy. Something older than Olympus noticed them. Poseidon, Zeus commanded. Do you feel that? The sea god's trident hummed uneasily. The waters recoil, as if the world itself is holding its breath. Athena's eyes narrowed. This is not the Titans, nor the Fates. Hades' voice echoed from the shadows.
That it is something worse.
Reality folded open above Olympus, not torn, not shattered, but politely stepped through. A slender purple figure emerged, floating effortlessly, yawning as if roused from a long nap. Beside him drifted a tall, pale attendant carrying a staff that glimmered with impossible symmetry. Beerus, the god of destruction, had arrived. We smiled warmly. Ah, a pantheon-based cosmology. How nostalgic. Zeus rose from his throne, lightning crackling around him. You enter Olympus unannounced. Name yourself. Beerus glanced at the throne, unimpressed. This place is flashy. Too flashy. It smells like fear, ambition, and bad governance. Poseidon stepped forward. You dare! Beerus raised one finger. Poseidon froze. Not bound, not paralyzed by magic. Reality simply refused to let him move. Beerus sighed. I ask, who handles the destruction here? Athena answered carefully. The gods enforce order. Mortals destroy themselves. Beerus blinked. You let mortals do your job? Zeus snarled. We rule this world. Beerus finally looked at him directly. Oh, he said flatly. You think you're in charge? The sky darkened, not with storm clouds, but with absence. Stars dimmed, sounds thin. Whis leaned in. Lord Beerus, this universe lacks a supreme Kai, no divine counterbalance. Curious. Beerus rubbed his chin. So you govern creation without responsibility for destruction. Hades laughed bitterly. Destruction is my domain. Beerus glanced toward the underworld god. Death isn't destruction, Beerus replied. It's recycling. Then casually, Beerus flicked his wrist. A section of Olympus, an entire divine terrace, vanished. No rubble, no explosion, just gone. Even the fates fell silent. Zeus staggered back, lightning dissipating from his hands. What are you? Beerus floated closer, eyes half-lidded. I am Beerus, god of destruction. The title meant nothing to them. The weight of it did. You cultivate war, Beerus continued. You manipulate mortals. You hold power. And when rot spreads, you call it fate. Athena clenched her spear. We maintain balance. Beerus laughed softly. No, you delay collapse. He looked past the gods, down toward Greece, where a Spartan knelt in blood and ash, praying to any god who would listen. Beerus paused. Whis followed his gaze. A mortal fatigued by suffering, potentially destabilizing. Beerus smirked. So that's your solution. A weapon. Zeus followed his stare, uneasy. He is nothing. Beerus' eyes narrowed, just slightly. If he kills you all, Beerus says, that would count as destruction. The Olympians recoiled. Beerus turned away, already bored. I won't erase this universe, he said. It's entertaining. But know this. He stopped once, glancing back. If your wars threaten existence itself, if your arrogance poisons reality beyond recovery, his finger glowed with a purple light, I will return, and Olympus will end quietly. Whis tapped his staff. Reality folded closed. Silence ruled Olympus. Poseidon could move again, but did not speak. Athena stared into the distance, mind racing. Hades whispered, We are not gods to him. Zeus clenched his fist, shaking. No, he said slowly. We are allowed. Far beyond their universe, Beerus yawned. Whis, that pantheon is unstable. Whis nodded. And the mortal you noticed? Beerus smirked. If he destroys them, he said, curling to sleep, it saves me the trouble. Ooh. That is not bad. I can kind of see Beerus doing this, when he's not napping. When Beerus is not napping and actually does his fucking job, he is very effective at his job. Oh, man. Oh, man. Okay, one last thing involving this scenario. One last thing. Write a follow-up of both eras of Kratos meeting Beerus. One for Greek era, one for Norse era. Okay. No full fights, no mortal favoritism, no intervention unless balance is threatened. I see. Story 1, the Greek era. Olympus burned. Zeus lay broken. The Titans were dead. The seas raged, the sky screamed, and Greece itself bled. At the edge of the world where chaos and void met, Kratos stood alone, his blades dripping divine ichor, ash still clinging to his skin. Victory had not brought peace, it brought silence. Then the silence cracked. Reality folded behind him. Kratos turned, blades rising instantly. A tall purple figure floated above the broken land, arms crossed, eyes half-lidded in disappointment. So, Beerus said, you actually did it. Kratos snarled, another god come to die! Beerus chuckled, hardly. We stepped forward, staff glowing softly. Fascinating. A mortal who annihilated an entire pantheon without collapsing reality entirely. Beerus examined the destruction. The ruined temples, the poisoned seas, the screaming skies. You destroyed the rot, Beerus said, but you damaged the vessel. Kratos stepped closer. They deserved it. Beerus' eyes sharpened. Deserving has nothing to do with it. He raised a finger, not glowing, not threateningly. You were their solution. A crude one, but effective. Kratos' grip tightened. Then finish it! Kill me! Beerus stared at him. For a long moment, the god of destruction said nothing. Then he lowered his hand. No. You've already destroyed enough. Kratos froze. Beerus turned away. You won't rule. You won't rebuild. You'll wander. Carry what you've done. We smiled faintly. In time, even gods must learn restraint. Kratos roared in rage and grief, and when he looked again, Beerus was gone. The curse remained. Centuries later, Midgard laid quiet beneath falling snow. Kratos stood before a small fire, older, heavier, his rage tempered into discipline. Across from him, Atreus slept, unaware of the universe watching him. The fire flickered unnaturally. Beerus emerged from the dark between flakes, floating inches above the ground. Kratos was on his feet instantly, axe in hand. You. Beerus raised an eyebrow. You remember me. Impressive. Whis appeared beside him. Your ki is controlled now. How unexpected. Kratos did not attack. He watched.
I do not seek war, but I will not run.
Beerus nodded approvingly. Good. That would have been annoying. He looked toward Atreus. A child. Kratos stepped between them without hesitation. Beerus smirked. Relax. If I wanted him gone, you wouldn't have time to blink. Kratos believed him. Once, you were destruction incarnate. Now you resist it. Kratos exhaled. I choose what I destroy. Beerus smiled, not cruelly. That is the difference between a weapon and a god. Kratos clenched his fist. Will you end this world? Beerus looked upward, sensing Ragnarok's distant echo. No, he said. This one might survive. He turned back. But hear me, Ghost of Sparta. If you return to blind slaughter, if your son inherits your old path. Beerus' eyes glowed faintly. I won't wait this time. Kratos bowed his head, not in submission, but understanding. Beerus yawned. Good talk. Whis tapped his staff. Snow fell normally again. Kratos stood in silence long after they vanished. Atreus stirred. Father? Kratos knelt beside him. Sleep. The universe would wait. Far beyond the realms, Beerus stretched. He's grown, Whis observed. Yes. Then his smile faded just slightly. And that makes him dangerous. Oh boy. I love the way they do this. I love the way ChatGPT is actually doing this. Like, say what you will about AI. When trained properly, it can be absolutely glorious. But there are a lot of growing pains. Notice how pretty much every prompt I have, I say be as lore accurate as possible. That is what makes this so good. If I just told it to write about two random ass characters, it would give me some random bullshit. But if you make it be as lore accurate as possible, oh man. Yeah, this is going very, very well. I like this so far. Like, this genuinely could be something really good. Okay, let me think here. What's another good, You know what? I'm becoming obsessed with this idea. Where else can we stick Lord Beerus where he'd just decide whether or not to destroy everything? Oh, man. Ooh. We could have him meet Alucard from Hellsing. Oh. Oh, man. Okay. Write a story of Beerus meeting Alucard from Hellsing Ultimate. Right. One for the regular series and one for the abridged parody. Okay. This ought to be good. Below are two versions of the same crossover between Beerus from Dragon Ball Super and Alucard from Hellsing Ultimate. One is written in the serious canon tone, and one is the classic chaotic abridged parody tone. Okay, before I read this, I'm going to take a small break because I actually have to run to the bathroom, so I'll be back in like 10 minutes. BRB! Okay, I'm excited for this. This is gonna be good. First one, the normal series version. The night over London was wrong. Not dark, hungry. Alucard stood atop the ruined cathedral, red coat fluttering like a torn banner, golden eyes fixed on the sky. The moon shuddered, space folding inward as if reality itself had flinched. A ripple, then a tear. A tall, lean figure descended without effort, purple skin untouched by gravity, ears twitching as slightly as he landed on the stone with a soundless step. His eyes half-lidded and bored, and ancient. Beerus, god of destruction. He sniffed the air. "This universe smells strange," Beerus said, mildly annoyed. "Too much blood, not enough fear." Alucard smiled, wide, sharp, delighted. "Well now." "That's a new one. You don't look like a priest, or a vampire." Beerus glanced at him, unimpressed. "You're loud, and you reek of immortality. Are you a god?" Alucard laughed, low and echoing. "Oh no, kitty cat. I kill gods." Beerus narrowed his eyes a fraction. "Insolent." In an instant, Beerus flicked a finger. The cathedral behind Alucard ceased to exist. Stone erased, matter undone. City skyline briefly visible through a hole in reality. Alucard hadn't moved. The smoke drifted past his unmoving form as his body slowly reformed. Bones knitting, flesh crawling back into place. His grin never faded. "That was rude," Alucard said pleasantly, "but impressive." Beerus stared. Then he smiled. "Oh?" Beerus said softly. "You regenerate after erasure?" Alucard's eyes gleamed. "Every time." Beerus folded his arms. "Interesting. You're not strong enough to threaten me, but you're persistent enough to be annoying." Alucard tilted his head. "And you're the first thing in centuries that might actually kill me." A silence stretched between them. Then Beerus turned away. "I will spare this planet," he said, "on one condition." Alucard raised a brow. "Do tell." Beerus smirked. "You stay here. If I ever grow bored, I'll come back." Alucard laughed into the night, echoing through the ruins. "I'll be waiting." All right. Now the abridged parody. London is on fire, as usual. Alucard stands on a pile of rubble, sipping blood from a wine glass that definitely came from somewhere inappropriate. "Ah," he sighs. "Another lovely evening in the myrtle capital of Europe." Reality explodes. A purple Catman drops out of the sky, lands perfectly, then looks around as if he had just walked into a gas station bathroom. Ew. Alucard squints. "Huh, you don't look British, or edible." Beerus sniffs at him. "You smell like blood, guns, and unresolved psychological issues." "Correct." Beerus yawns. "Are you the god of this planet?" Alucard grins. "Buddy, I'm the reason gods lock their doors." Beerus raised a finger. "Neat. Counterpoint. Flick." Alucard explodes into chunky red paste. Beerus turned around. "Whis, I'm bored. There's nothing fun here." Alucard reforms behind him. "Aye." Beerus freezes, slowly turns. "Excuse me." Alucard waves. "Regeneration. Comes free with the immortality package. No refunds." Beerus vaporizes him again. Again. Beerus starts sweating. "What the hell are you?" Alucard stretches. "A gun-sexual murder vampire with daddy issues and about 3 million souls screaming in my head." Beerus blinks. "I erase universes." "Cool. I regenerate from conceptual deletion on Tuesdays." Beerus stares at him for a long moment, then sits down. "You want to spar?" Alucard's grin widens impossibly. "Oh," he says, "I was hoping you'd ask, Mr. Kitty God." Somewhere in the distance, Whis is already writing an apology letter to Earth. Oh, boy. Oh, that was amazing. That was great. That was good. All right. So then, how about... Ooh. Oh, wait! That's it! Oh, why didn't I think of this earlier? Write a story where Zagreus from Hades meets Kratos from God of War. Write one for both eras of Kratos. Be as lore accurate as possible. There. Oh, okay. This is actually, like, making me think. They're written to feel like they could exist between canon moments without breaking them. Okay. Blood of Olympus, Blood of the Underworld. A good chapter name. The House of Hades had seen many intruders. Heroes, demigods, monsters were encouraged like a borrowed cloak. None like this. The torches along the obsidian hall guttered as Kratos strode forward, chains clinking softly at his side. The blades of chaos hummed, not from magic, but from memory. The house itself recoiled, stone cracking beneath his feet. Zagreus leaned casually against a pillar, spear resting on his shoulder. Well, he said, red eyes sharp with interest. You don't look lost. Angry, though. Very on brand for this place. Kratos stopped. He stared at the young god, at the defiant posture, familiar spark of Olympus in his blood, and felt something twist in his chest that was not rage.
Move, he growled. I seek Hades.
Zagreus winced. Ah, father. Yes, everyone does lately. He straightened, grip tightening on Varatha. Still, can't let you storm the house without at least asking. What did he do this time? Kratos' jaw clenched. He stands between me and Zeus. Zagreus exhaled slowly. That explained a great deal. Nyx had whispered of this one, the ghost of Sparta, the god slayer walking the world like a curse finally given legs. So, Zagreus said, stepping aside, but not away, you're the one tearing Olympus apart. Kratos' eyes flicked to him.
You know my name.
I know a lot of things, Zagreus replied. Like how you were once a man. Like how the gods used you. Like how you'll kill them and all. Kill them all and still feel empty afterwards. The word struck harder than any blade. Kratos lunged. Steel met divine bronze in a shower of sparks. Zagreus moved with practiced grace, every strike precise, testing rather than killing. He'd fought heroes before. Theseus, Achilles in sparring, champions born of prophecy. Kratos was something else entirely. Each blow carried finality. Zagreus was driven back, boots skidding across the marble floor. He laughed once, breathless. Wow, you hit like Ares, only quieter. That's new. Enough! Kratos snarled, forcing Zagreus to his knees. The blades hovered at his throat. You will not stand in my way! Zagreus looked up at him, and did not see a monster. He saw a son who had been devoured by his father's war. Then listen, Zagreus said quietly. If you kill Hades, the underworld collapses. Souls wander. Order breaks. Whatever justice you think you're carving out, it won't land where you want it to. Kratos hesitated, just for a breath. Zagreus took it. I won't stop you, he said, but know this. When you're done, when Olympus is ash and the world still hurts. He met Kratos' gaze unflinching. you'll still be carrying the chains. Kratos withdrew his blades. He turned away, cloak snapping like a battle standard. As he passed, Zagreus called after him, softer now. For what it's worth, I hope you find something better than revenge. Kratos did not answer, but for the first time in years, the House of Hades felt quieter. Okay. The rift opened where realms thinned, where chaos remembered itself. Zagreus tumbled out head first, landed in snow, then immediately sat up swearing. Great. Cold. Father would hate this. He got to his feet and froze. A massive man stood nearby, axe in hand, beard dusted with frost. His posture was relaxed but coiled, watchful, the kind of stillness that promised violence only if absolutely necessary. Kratos. Older, scarred, changed. Zagreus felt it instantly. The rage still there, but buried beneath layers of restraint, grief, and something far rarer. Care. Well, Zagreus said carefully, hands raised. This is new. You look calmer. State your name. Kratos did not raise his weapon. Zagreus, son of Hades, prince of the underworld. He tilted his head. And you already know who you are. Kratos studied him for a long moment.
A Greek god, he said at last. I killed your kind.
Most of them, Zagreus corrected gently. Yes, believe me, we noticed. Snow drifted between them. I am not here for vengeance, Zagreus continued. Frankly, I get why you did it. Gods can be difficult parents. A muscle twitched in Kratos' jaw.
You should not be here, he said. The past is buried.
Zagreus smiled sadly. Funny, that's usually my job. Something shifted then. Footsteps behind Kratos. Atreus emerged, bow in hand, eyes wide with curiosity rather than fear. Father? He asked. Who is that? Kratos did not look away from Zagreus.
A god from a dead land.
Zagreus knelt slightly, lowering himself to Atreus' level. Hi. For what it's worth, you're doing better than we ever did. Atreus blinked. Doing better at what? At being a son, Zagreus said. Then he looked back up at Kratos. And you, at being a father. The words landed softly, precisely. Kratos finally lowered the axe.
I learned too late.
Zagreus shook his head. No, too late is never learning at all. The rift behind Zagreus began to close, chaos reclaiming its terror in reality. Well, Zagreus said, stepping back, I should go. Realms to escape, family issues to ignore. He paused. You broke the cycle. That matters, even to the dead. Kratos inclined his head. Not a bow, but acknowledgement.
Walk your path, and do not return.
Zagreus grinned. No promises. The rift sealed. Kratos stood in silence as snow continued to fall. Atreus looked up at him. He wasn't like the other gods.
No,
Kratos said.
He chose to be better.
And for once, the ghost of Sparta felt something close to peace. Whoo-hoo-hoo! Okay. That's good. Okay, now I have to see if I can do it. Right? A similar story, but with Melinoe from Hades 2 instead of Zagreus. Okay. Colder, quieter, and more ritualistic than Zagreus because Melinoe is not a rebel prince. She is a weapon raised in the dark. Oh boy. Ooh, ow. Snap, crackle, pop goes my joints. I hate getting old. Alright. The Witch and the Ghost. The underworld was wrong. Not broken, wounded. Sodas. They're bad for you. Okay. The underworld was wrong. Not broken, wounded. Time shuddered in uneven pulses, like a heart that refused to keep rhythm. Melinoe felt it in her bones as she stepped from a silver sigil etched into the stone halls of Tartarus. Kronos' influence lingered everywhere, and then she sensed him. A presence like scorched iron and dried blood. A god who should not still be moving, yet carved forward through fate itself. Kratos. Melinoe never announced herself. She didn't announce herself. She never did. She watched as he advanced through the underworld, blades of chaos dragging sparks from the stone. Shades fled. Erinyes recoiled. Even ancient wards of Hades strained under his passing. She stepped into his path. Not boldly, not provocatively, simply there. Kratos halted instantly, instinct screaming. The witch goddess before him was as pale as moonlight, hair bound tight, sickle blade resting at her side. No arrogance, no fear, only purpose.
"You are not Hades," Kratos said.
No, Melinoe replied. Her voice was calm, distant, as if spoken behind a veil. I am his daughter. Kratos' grip tightened. I will not be delayed, he growled. You already are, she said. Time bent. The world lurched, not stopped, but strained. Kratos felt it immediately, the air thickening like resin. He forced himself forward a step, muscles burning. Magic. Old. Titanic. Melinoe studied him with unsettling focus. You move against the flow, she said. Even Kronos would find that impressive. Kratos snarled. I do not fear the gods of time. I know, she answered. You fear nothing. That's why you will lose everything. The words were not a threat. They were an observation. She raised her sickle, not to strike, but to measure. I've seen your future, Melinoe continued. Olympus drowned in blood, the world shattered, and still, you were not free. Kratos forced the magic aside and swung. Melinoe vanished in a burst of moonlight. The blade passed through afterimage and memory. She reappeared behind him, sigils burning beneath her feet. You seek vengeance, she said. I seek correction. Her magic lashed out, not pain, but vision. Kratos saw it in a flash. Himself, older, quieter, carrying a child through snow. Rage buried, not gone. The cycle, bent, but unbroken. He staggered. Melinoe lowered her weapon. You are a necessary catastrophe, she said, but not my war. She stepped aside. Go. Kill the gods. The consequences will come later. Kratos glared at her. You could have stopped me. Yes, Melinoe agreed, and broken time further. She watched him leave, chains rattling into the dark. Alone again, she whispered to the shadows. Remember him. Kronos stirred. The spell took everything. Melinoe carved sigils into frozen earth, breath misting, knuckles bleeding. Norse magic resisted her. Different rules, different lies, but time yielded. It always did. She stepped through. Midgard was quiet, snow-laden, alive in a way Greece never was. And there he stood. Kratos, older now, axe resting against his shoulder. No chains, no roar of fury echoing through the realms. Melinoe felt the difference immediately. This is after, she murmured. Kratos sensed her before he saw her. He turned slowly.
Another Greek god, he said flatly.
State your purpose. Melinoe did not reach for her weapon. I hunt Kronos, she said. You killed Olympus. These facts are connected. Kratos' eyes narrowed.
He is not my concern.
He will be, she replied. Footsteps crunched behind him. Atreus approached, curious alert. Melinoe's gaze flicked to the boy, then lingered. A child, she said softly. You changed the pattern. Kratos said nothing. You were meant to die drowning in your sins, she continued. Instead, you taught them to walk beside you. Atreus frowned. Father?
She speaks truth.
Melinoe stepped closer, studying him not as a foe, but as an anomaly. You are proof, she said, that fate can fracture without collapsing time. Her voice wavered just slightly. I was raised for war, she admitted, trained to be a blade against inevitability. You were forged as one, and chose to be more. Kratos met her gaze.
It was not a choice alone, he said. It was consequence.
Melinoe considered that. Then she nodded. Good. Then you understand this. She traced a sigil in the air. A vision bloomed briefly. Kronos bound, time screaming. Gods and mortals alike paying the price. When he falls, she said, the world will not thank me. It will survive me. Kratos rested the Leviathan axe against the ground.
If you threaten my son, he said evenly, I will end you.
Melinoe did not flinch. I would never, she said. He's the future proving the past wrong. Atreus blinked. I like her. Kratos sighed. Melinoe allowed herself the faintest smile. Our paths will not cross again, she said. But know this, Ghost of Sparta. Your restraint did what your rage never could. She stepped backward as the spell unraveled. Time remembers you kindly, she said. Then she was gone. Kratos stood in silence. Atreus looked up at him. She wasn't scary. No, Kratos agreed. She was honest. And far away, beyond gods and eras, Melinoe sharpened her blade, carrying with her the knowledge that even monsters could grow. That's not bad. Oh, man. That's not bad at all. All right, let's write something new. I'm actually kind of obsessed with throwing Beerus into random places and seeing whether or not he'll just destroy them out of irritation or boredom. So, wait. On the subject of Hades, write a story where Beerus meets the gods from Hades. All right, here we go. Write a story where Beerus meets the gods from Hades. Be as lore accurate as possible. Okay. The god who destroyed Death's quiet. The underworld had a rhythm. It was not the silence mortals imagined. Every goddamn time I start something. The underworld had a rhythm. It was not the silence mortals imagined, but a measured constancy. The distant roll of the river Styx, the scrape of shades shuffling toward judgment, the eternal glow of House Hades' braziers, even the bickering of the Olympians, echoing faintly through divine channels, followed rules older than rebellion itself. That rhythm broke the moment the sky cracked. Not shattered, cracked, as though reality itself had frowned. Cerberus growled first. The three-headed hound rose, hackles bristling, every instinct screaming intrusion. Nyx emerged from the shadows of her courtyard, her star-flecked veil rippling, eyes narrowing at a pressure she had not felt since the Titanomachy. A ripple of violet light tore open above the courtyard stair with long ears, purple skin, and half-lidded golden eyes that looked profoundly unimpressed. Behind him floated a tall, pale blue attendant holding a staff, smiling pleasantly. "Whis," the cat-like god said, glancing around. "This place smells like dead souls and bad cooking." "Yes, Lord Beerus," Whis replied cheerfully. "By my calculations, we appear to be in a self-contained afterlife governed by a pantheon distinct from Universe 7. Fascinating, really." Beerus stretched, claws flexing. No Supreme Kai signature, no xenopresence, yet the cosmological structure is stable. Someone competent runs this place. His eyes narrowed. The air darkened. From the massive doors of the House of Hades, the Lord of the Dead himself stepped out. His robes flowed like shadows made solid, helm gleaming faintly. He took in the intruder with the single measuring glance. "You stand in the House of Hades," he said, voice like stone grinding stone. "State your name and purpose or be removed." Beerus looked at him, ears twitching. "Oh, you are the ruler here?" A grin crept across Beerus's face. "Good, saves time." Whis cleared his throat. "Allow me. This is Lord Beerus, god of destruction of Universe 7. He maintains cosmic balance by erasing that which threatens it." Hades' eyes flickered, not with fear, but with understanding. Ancient understanding.
"A necessary god," Hades said slowly. "Like Thanatos, but writ large."
From the shadows behind him, Thanatos materialized, scythe resting on his shoulder. Red eyes fixed on the Beerus.
"I don't like this," he muttered. "That thing feels like it could kill death."
Beerus chuckled. "You're not wrong." A spear slammed into the stone between them. Zagreus stood poised, infernal arms glowing, jaw set. "Yeah, well, you're not erasing my home without a fight." Beerus glanced down at the spear, then at Zagreus. His expression softened, not kindly, but curiously. "You're Hades' offspring," he said. "Immortal, constantly dying, coming back stronger." He nodded. "That explains the loop time structure. Clever." Nyx stepped forward, her presence pressing against even Beerus' aura. "This realm is not yours to judge, Destroyer. Its balance is self-contained." Beerus' eyes sharpened. For a fraction of a second, the courtyard trembled, stones humming as the concept of erasure brushed against existence itself. Whis tapped his staff lightly. "Lord Beerus, remember, we are guests." Beerus clicked his tongue. "Right." The pressure vanished. Hades exhaled slowly. "Then why are you here, god of destruction?" Beerus looked up at the false sky of the underworld, at the unchanging cycle of death and return, punishment and purpose. "I felt something strange," he admitted. "A universe where death doesn't escalate into chaos, where gods bicker endlessly yet the system holds." He smirked. "I wanted to see why." There was a pause. Then Zagreus lowered his weapon. Just a fraction. "So, does it pass your test?" he asked. Beerus closed his eyes, thinking of mortals who defied gods, of Kais who failed their duties, of universes that rotted from imbalance. When he opened them, there was no destruction in his gaze. "For now," he said, "yes." Thanatos relaxed slightly. Cerberus sat. Hades inclined his head, not submission, but acknowledgement between equals. "Then you are welcome to observe. But understand this, Destroyer. Death here is not failure. It is function." Beerus grinned, sharp and satisfied. "Good. I hate sloppy systems." We smiled. "Shall we sample the local cuisine, Lord Beerus?" Beerus groaned. "If it's anything like that realm's ambrosia, I'm destroying the kitchen." Somewhere far above, the Olympians felt a chill they could not explain, and for the first time in countless ages, the underworld had been judged and found worthy to endure. Okay. That's not bad. I like that. I like that a lot. That was really good. All right, new chat. Okay, what else do we want to do here? Ooh. I know what I can do. Write a story about Kratos from God of War meeting Wonder Woman. Be as lore accurate as possible. Actually, yeah. Write one for both eras of Kratos. There. All right. Let's see what happens here. Greek era Kratos. Mount Olympus trembled, not from the will of Zeus, but from the rage of the monster he had unleashed upon the world. Kratos climbed the marble steps, blades blazing, ash-stained skin streaked with the blood of gods. The screams of mortals echoed below, casualties of a war they never chose. Olympus loomed above him, radiant and corrupt, a monument to betrayal. He did not notice the terror in reality at first. A flash of divine light split the sky, not unlike Zeus's lightning, but radiant and clean, older than Olympus, disciplined rather than decadent. From it descended a warrior clad in red, blue, and gold, her feet touching the marble without a sound. Wonder Woman of Themyscira had crossed worlds. She took in the carnage in seconds. Broken statues of Athena, fallen Olympians, mortals crushed beneath the excess of godly war. Then her eyes settled on Kratos, a god-killer, a weapon shaped like a man. She drew her sword, not in fear, but readiness. "Ghost of Sparta," she said, her voice calm yet commanding. "Your war has spilled beyond the guilty." Kratos turned slowly. His eyes burned with fury, but also exhaustion, an endless rage fed by betrayal. "Another god," he growled. "Stand aside or die." "I am no Olympian," Diana replied, "and I will not stand aside while innocents suffer." Kratos laughed, a harsh, broken sound. "Innocents?" He gestured to Olympus. "They watched. They allowed this." Diana advanced, shield raised. "Justice is not vengeance." That word struck him harder than any blade. Oh boy. This is nutty so far. I'm liking this. I'm liking this a lot. Okay. Right. The word struck him harder than any blade. They clashed like colliding myths. Kratos' blades of chaos screamed through the air, chains wrapping around Diana's shield. She braced, boots carving trenches into stone, strength meeting strength. Sparks erupted as her sword deflected a killing strike meant to cleave mountains. She was strong, stronger than most gods Kratos has slain. But she fought with control. Kratos fought with nothing left to lose. When he finally overpowered her, blade at her throat, Diana did not beg. She met his glare without hatred. "You were not beyond redemption," she said. "You were used. I see it." Kratos hesitated, a heartbeat. Then the screams below reached him again. Real, terrified, human. His hands trembled. He tore his blades away and turned from her. "Redemption is a lie," he said. "But this ends now." He marched toward Olympus alone. Diana watched him go, not with approval, but understanding. Some war, she knew, could only end in fire. Greek-era Kratos was a nutty man. Was a very nutty man. He was all smoke. But now, we go to Norse era. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. Kratos stood still, Leviathan axe resting against his shoulder. Mimir whispered nervously from his belt. "Brother, I don't like this. Feels like the realms themselves are holding their breath." A ripple passed through the air. Subtle, controlled. Nothing like the violent tears of gods at war. From it stepped a woman, sword sheathed, hands open. She did not attack. Kratos turned, already alert, already defensive.
"You are far from home,"
he said. Wonder Woman inclined her head. "So are you." This Kratos was different. His rage was contained, buried beneath discipline and grief. His eyes were tired, not burning. She felt it immediately. "I am Diana of Themyscira," she said. "I seek the warrior called Kratos."
"You found him," he replied. "State your purpose."
Diana studied him, not as an enemy, but as one soldier recognizing another. "In my world, your name is spoken as a monster, as a god who destroyed a pantheon." Kratos said nothing. "But here," she continued, "I sense restraint, regret." Mimir cleared his throat. "Aye, well, that's growth for you."
"I do not wish for war,"
Kratos said, ignoring Mimir. Diana smiled faintly. "Nor do I." They spoke then, not with blades, but with words, of gods who abused power, of sons and daughters burdened by destiny, of mistakes that could never be undone. "You walk with guilt," Diana said gently.
"I walk with responsibility," Kratos corrected. "There's a difference."
She nodded, understanding at last. This was not the ghost of Sparta. This was a man trying to be better. For his son. For the world. When a monstrous creature emerged from the forest, drawn by the instability between realms, Kratos did not charge blindly. He assessed. He protected. He fought with precision. Diana fought beside him, shield and lasso complementing axe and fists. They were devastating, not because of rage, but harmony. When it was over, the forest was silent once more. Diana turned to him. "If my world ever needs you," Kratos shook his head.
"I fight only when necessary, and never for glory."
She smiled, proud. "Then you are more of a hero than you know." As she stepped back through the rift, Kratos returned to the path home. Mimir chuckled. "Well, brother, fancy that? A god who actually understands you." Kratos said nothing, but for once, the weight on his shoulders felt lighter. "That's nice! That's real nice!" Wonder Woman is definitely somebody who represents the best empowerment of women. She's somebody that doesn't actively seek combat, but is willing to go for it if it means keeping people safe. All right. Of course, now that I think about it, right, two stories where Wonder Woman meets characters from the Hades series. Right. One for Hades, the other for Hades 2. Be as lore accurate as possible. If I can learn how to spell. God damn. Okay. And avoid contradicting established events. The truth beneath the house. Wonder Woman meets the cast of Hades. First thing Wonder Woman noticed about the House of Hades was not the gloom. It was the order. The realm of the dead should have been chaos, souls screaming, spirit clawing for memory. But instead it was structured, bureaucratic, and strangely domestic. Torches burned steadily. Shades lined up patiently. Even the great god of the dead himself sat behind a desk, reviewing parchment with a frown that suggested irritation rather than malice. Hades looked up as Diana entered the hall.
You are not on the ledger, he said flatly.
That would be because I did not die, Diana replied, resting her shield at her side. Nor did I come as an enemy. Hades leaned back.
That's what Zagreus said once. Didn't last.
From behind a pillar came a familiar, irreverent voice. Hey now, Father, let's not scare the guest. She looks heroic. Zagreus stepped into view, infernal arms slung casually over his shoulder, eyes bright with curiosity. Prince Zagreus, Diana said, inclining her head. Son of Hades, champion of escape. Champion of attempted escape, Zagreus corrected. Big fan of your work, by the way. Slaying monsters, standing up to gods, impeccable sandals. Athena's presence brushed against Diana's mind. Distant, restrained. Observe, do not intervene. Hades rose. State your purpose, Amazon. I was drawn here by imbalance, Diana answered honestly. A soul repeatedly defying death, testing the boundaries of fate itself. Such things echo across pantheons. Zagreus winced. Yeah, that tracks. Nyx emerged from the shadows like dust given form. Truth is welcome here, she said gently, and this one carries it openly. Diana felt it then. The undercurrent. Zagreus was not rebelling out of defiance alone. He was searching. For his mother. For truth. For agency in a system built long before his birth. You're not breaking the natural order, Diana said softly to Zagreus. You are revealing its fractures. Hades scowled. This fracture nearly tore my realm apart. And yet, Diana said, turning to him, you allowed it. Silence followed. Cerberus padded over, tails wagging. Diana knelt without fear, scratching behind the three massive ears. Cerberus immediately decided she was acceptable. Zagreus blinked. Wow, took me months. Hades sighed. She's insufferably honest, isn't she? Diana smiled. Truth has that reputation. When she departed, there was no battle, no triumph, only understanding. Zagreus would continue his journey, not to escape death, but to redefine his place within it. And Hades, god of the dead, would rule not with fear, but with truth acknowledged. All right, not bad. Okay. Wonder Woman meets the cast of Hades 2. Time did not flow correctly in the crossroads. Wonder Woman felt it the moment she stepped on the moonlit path. Seconds folding, futures brushing against pasts. The scent of witchcraft lingered thick in the air. A young woman stood at the center of the crossroads, staff in hand, eyes sharp, determined, with determination and grief. You're not one of Cronus' constructs, the witch said immediately. Good, I don't have time for another one. I am Diana of Themyscira, Wonder Woman said. And you are Melinoe. Melinoe stiffened. You know my name. I know many children of the gods, Diana replied gently, especially those raised in shadow. The Silver Sister, goddesses of ghosts and nightmares, studied Diana carefully. Then nodded. Then you know why I fight. Kronos, the Titan of Time, had overthrown Olympus. The gods were scattered, imprisoned, diminished. Hades himself was bound, frozen in an eternal moment beneath his own realm. This was not rebellion. This was war. At the crossroads, Hecate watched silently, eyes unreadable. Truth and time do not often agree, the witch goddess murmured. They must, Diana answered, or both become weapons. Melinoe led Diana through fractured realms, into Tartarus twisted by temporal decay, through Erebus echoing with half-lived moments. Shades repeated the same deaths endlessly. Monsters remembered. This is Kronos' mercy. A perfect prison. Diana's jaw tightened. There's nothing merciful about denying choice. They confronted Kronos not with steel alone, but with resistance. Melinoe's magic severed timelines. Diana's lasso of truth burned through temporal lies, forcing the Titan to experience every consequence of his dominion at once. Kronos screamed, not in pain, but in certainty undone. You cannot undo inevitability. I do not seek to undo it, Diana replied, wrapping the lasso tighter. Only to remind the cosmos that even time must answer to truth. The battle did not end the war. It could not. Kronos retreated, wounded but unbroken. Afterward, Melinoe sat at the crossroads, exhausted. I fight because I was made for this, because no one else can. Diana knelt beside her. You fight because you choose to. That matters more than destiny. Hecate smiled faintly. When Wonder Woman departed, the moon shone brighter over the crossroads. The war against time would continue, but it would not consume Melinoe whole. She was not merely a weapon against Kronos. She was hope, walking forward, moment by moment, by choice. All right. Okay. Wait a minute. Did I ever... Hold on. I didn't! Okay. Right, a sequel where... The Unseen. Or no, not The Unseen. Right, a sequel where Beerus meets the cast of Hades 2. Yeah. I like this a lot. I'm having fun with this. Oh, man. Time had begun to misbehave. Not subtly. Kronos was far past subtlety. But in the way only a Titan could manage. Loops slipping, moments stuttering, causality groaning under the weight of stolen dominion. The crossroads felt it most keenly. Spells took a heartbeat longer to settle. Shadows arrived before their casters. And then, reality folded. A familiar violent seam tore open above the stone path between the realms, and out stepped a purple cat-like god stretching as though he'd merely taken a long nap. Beerus sniffed the air. Oh, this place is worse, he said flatly. Someone's messing with time. Whis floated beside him, staff humming softly. Indeed, temporal manipulation on a scale rivaling the Kai of time. How nostalgic. From the edge of the crossroads, torches flared green. Melinoe emerged from the shadow, sickle and dagger in hand, moonlight glinting off silver hair bound in ritual braids. Her stance was measured, trained. Witch first, warrior second. State your name, she said calmly, eyes glowing faintly with spellwork, and your intent. Beerus blinked. Another Hades kid? He squinted. No, different aura, sharper, more resentful. Melinoe didn't flinch. You feel like annihilation wearing a body, she replied. So forgive me if I don't lower my guard. Behind her, Hecate appeared as if she had always been there, lantern burning with layered magic older than Olympian law. Her gaze lingered on Whis, then snapped to Beerus, pupils narrowing. You're not of this cosmos, Hecate said, nor bound by fate. Beerus smiled. Good eye. Whis bowed politely. Greetings. We are visitors once more. My lord sensed a disruption. Melinoe's grip tightened. Kronos. Beerus's ears twitched at the name. Oh, his expression sharpened, interest blooming. A titan who broke free and started rewriting causality? Bold. The ground shuddered. Time itself seemed to drag a vast skeletal figure emerge from a fractured reality. Kronos, Titan of Time, chains of stolen moments coiling around his form. His voice echoed from every direction at once. So, Kronos intoned, another god from another eternity arrives to witness the end of the old order. Beerus looked him up and down. You're loud, he said, and you've overstayed your relevance. Kronos laughed, a sound like clocks breaking. I have devoured gods, destroyer. I've seized the flow of all things. What are you but a weapon forged by smaller minds? The crossroads froze. Melinoe felt it. The pressure, the absolute certainty that if Beerus wished it, Kronos would simply cease. No struggle, no war, just erasure. Beerus yawned. You Titans always talk too much. Whis tapped his staff again. Lord Beerus, interference across cosmologies. I know. Beerus met Kronos' gaze, eyes glowing faintly violet. Not destruction unleashed, but restrained. You are not my responsibility, Beerus said. You're hers. He gestured lazily toward Melinoe. This universe still has gods willing to clean up their own messes. Kronos recoiled, not in fear, but in fury. You dare dismiss me! Beerus' smile was thin. I dare because I can. Kronos vanished in a distortion of warped seconds, retreating deeper into his stolen dominion. Silence returned, time snapping back into place like a stretched cord. Melinoe exhaled slowly. You could have ended this, she said, not accusing, simply stating fact. Beerus nodded. Yes. Hecate studied him carefully. Then why didn't you? Beerus looked at Melinoe, at the determination carved into her very existence, at the way she stood against inevitability, not with defiance, but purpose. Because this isn't rot, Beerus said. It's struggle, and struggle creates growth. He turned away, stretching again. Besides, watching gods defy time is entertaining. We smiled. Shall we go, Lord Beerus, before the Olympians notice you again? Beerus smirked. Yeah, before they start whining. The rift opened once more. Before stepping through, Beerus paused and glanced back at Melinoe. Which, he said, if you win, make sure time stays in its lane. Melinoe inclined her head. And if we fail? Beerus' eyes gleamed. Then maybe I'll be back. The rift closed. The crossroads breathed again. Hecate chuckled softly. Well, child, she said, lantern flickering. At least the end of everything is temporarily off the table. Melinoe looked toward where Kronos had fled, resolve burning brighter. Good, she said. I don't intend to lose. And somewhere beyond time, a god of destruction slept, dreaming for once of a universe worth sparing. Not bad at all! That was actually a good sequel story. I liked that. That was good. Okay. Oh, wait. Since I started talking about DC in here, I just had a random thought. A very intrusive random thought.
What if Batman got summoned to the Fear and Hunger universe? What if Batman got put in the Fear and Hunger universe?
Chat GPT, do your thing! Okay, here we go. Write a story of Batman entering the world of fear and hunger. Write a story for both games. Be as lore accurate as possible. Send it! Let's do this! 2 connected short stories. Batman in Fear and Hunger 1, Batman in Fear and Hunger Termina. They are written to respect Batman's canon psychology and the specific metaphysics, gods, timelines, and tone of Fear and Hunger universe. No power fantasy shortcuts, no sanitizing the horror. Oh boy. The Bat does not fall screaming. He lands badly, stone biting through armor, ribs screaming warnings, but he rolls silent, already counting exits. The air is wrong, thick, old. It smells of rot, iron, and prayers unanswered for centuries. Batman rises inside the dungeon of Fear and Hunger. No city, no stars, no signal. His comms return only static, threaded with whispers that do not register as sound, but intent. The cape feels heavier here, as if the darkness itself has weight and expectation. He catalogs the architecture immediately. Pre-modern stonework, ritual defacement, sigils that do not correspond to any known occult system on Earth, but they are consistent. This place is not chaos. It's a system designed to grind hope into something useful. A scream echoes down a corridor, then it cuts off abruptly, like a throat folded inward. Batman moves. He encounters the guard first. The creature lumbers into torchlight, flesh distorted by ritual mutilation. Anatomy pushed past any evolutionary logic. Batman strikes with precision, joint locks, nerve clusters, chokeholds meant to incapacitate. The guard does not feel pain in the way men do. It doesn't stop. Batman adapts. Blinding strikes, environmental takedown, collapsing masonry. The guard finally falls, not unconscious, but disassembled. The victory feels hollow. There's no triumph here, only delay. He notes something disturbing. This place does not reward heroism. It merely allows survival. Deeper in, Batman witnesses traces of the old gods. Grogroth, destruction not as rage, but as inevitability. Sylvian, love twisted into consumption, intimacy as annihilation. Almer, a failed salvation, worship because hope had nowhere else to go. Batman does not kneel, but he understands. These are not beings to be fought physically. They are conceptual predators. Ideas so large that resistance must occur within itself. The dungeon probes him. Visions of his parents' deaths replay, not as memory, but as accusation. You failed. You could have been faster. You're still a child in an alley pretending pain can be disciplined. His mind strains. Batman responds not with denial, but with acceptance. He has survived Scarecrow. He stared into cosmic nihilism and still chosen purpose. Fear does not own him. But here, fear is currency. He finds the girl in a cage. Small, silent, eyes far older than her body. Something unfinished coils around her soul. Batman recognizes the signs immediately. Not trauma alone, but destiny imposed without consent. He frees her. The act costs him. The dungeon resists. Locks rust closed. Shadows coagulate into limbs. Sanity bleeds away. His rations rot overnight. His sleep brings no recovery. Still, he protects her. When they reach the ancient chamber, the ritual space where the god of fear and hunger is meant to rise, Batman understands the final cruelty. This world does not want a savior. It wants a replacement. The girl ascends not through triumph, but through sacrifice. Through suffering refined into divinity. Batman cannot stop it. He stands as the transformation completes. Fear and hunger crystallized into something new. A god born not of malice, but endurance. The dungeon trembles. Batman leaves through a door that did not exist before. Behind him, the world does not improve. It merely continues. Batman in the Dungeon of Fear and Hunger would probably be one of the worst things to ever happen to him. I would argue that it would traumatize him more than the alley. Not because he couldn't do anything, but because nobody would want him to do anything. If he saved somebody, like, they would end up necking themselves. Ah, fuck, my lip. Alright. Number 2, Batman in the Festival of Termina. He wakes in a forest, pine needles, cold air, a half moon that feels like an eye pressed too close. Preheville. Batman's internal clock falters immediately. Time here is fractured, measured in phases, not hours. His tech works, but unreliably. GPS shows nothing but recursive emptiness. Then he finds the flyers. The Festival of Termina. Only one may remain. Batman studies the rules quickly. This is not a dungeon. It's a ritualized slaughter, overseen by Rare, the trickster moon god. Where the old gods embodied inevitability, Rare embodies mockery. Observation without intervention. Amusement without mercy. Contestants transform not because they are evil, but because they are exposed. Stripped of all social masks, hope, and time. Batman encounters them one by one. A soldier hollowed by war. A doctor whose empathy rots into obsession. A performer who smiles as something sharp unfolds behind the eyes. They are not villains. They are losing a game designed to erase restraint. Batman resists the pull longer than most. Discipline protects his mind. Preparation delays hunger. He refuses firearms, refuses shortcuts that would cheapen survival. But Termina does not care about principles. Under Rare's moon, Batman experiences moon scorching not as physical mutation, but as ideological pressure. You could end this faster. Kill them before they change. They will become monsters anyway. This is the most dangerous temptation of all. Not fear. Pragmatism without compassion. Batman nearly breaks when he is forced to incapacitate a contestant who begs him to finish it. Mercy kill would be logical. He refuses. Not because it saves the world, but because it saves him. Batman does not defeat Rare. No one does. He reaches the tower, disrupts the ritual patterns, exploits the god's rules rather than imposing its power. Observation becomes vulnerability. Mockery becomes blind spot. When the festival collapses, it does not end cleanly. Survivors remain broken. Preheville stays cursed. The moon still watches. Batman leaves again, older, quieter, with fewer certainties. Back in Gotham, nothing seems different, but Batman is. He now knows worlds exist where suffering is not an aberration, but infrastructure. Where gods do not hate you, they simply do not notice you enough to care. And still, he puts on the cowl. Because even in worlds ruled by fear, hunger, and mockery, choosing not to become a monster is the rarest victory of all. Yeah, Batman would struggle a lot in the Fear and Hunger universe. Because simply put, Fear and Hunger deities do not give a shit what your morals are. They don't even care enough to check on the world. The only thing keeping them around is the bare concepts of their being. So for someone like Batman, who uses the dark to fight for the light, he would be fucked up in the head. But he would still come back somewhat stronger. It would be a mental challenge for him as much as a physical one. Okay. Let me think here. Wait. Oh, I just got another idea. Damn it, now I'm back on the fear and hunger kick. Okay. And because I have to, because it's Hellsing Ultimate. Of course, I have to. Below are two short crossover stories featuring Alucard from Hellsing Ultimate entering the world of fear and hunger. First played straight in a canon tone, then reimagined as a Hellsing Ultimate abridged style parody. The hunger that could not eat him. The dungeon did not greet intruders, it endured them. Stone breathed damp rot. The walls were etched with prayers that had failed. Somewhere below, something sobbed, not from pain, but from hunger that had forgotten what satisfaction felt like. A man in a red coat walked in anyway. Alucard's boots echoed once, twice, then stopped. His grin cut through the darkness long before his eyes adjusted. Oh.
This place reeks of ambition.
The dungeon responded as it always did, with violence. A guard lunged from the shadows, rusted blades screaming against stone. Its body was wrong, swollen muscles stitched to ritual scars, eyes hollowed by devotion to cruelty. Sorry about that. Alucard didn't dodge. The sword pierced his chest. The guard froze, confused, as Alucard looked down at the blade, then back up to the man holding it. Rude. The sword was swallowed by shadow as Alucard's body collapsed inward, then bloomed. Blood erupted like a blooming rose, tendrils snapping the guard's limbs backwards. Teeth, not human, closed around its head. The corpse hit the floor, already empty. Alucard straightened his coat, amused. Now that's a welcoming committee. As he descended, the dungeon tried harder. Cave dwellers tore at him in swarms, moonless beasts gnawing at his legs. A harvestman's many arms dragged him into the dark, and were torn apart by laughing shadows. But something was wrong. The dungeon did not fear him. It watched. Ritual circles pulsed faintly. The air grew heavier, pressing not on flesh, but on will. Alucard felt it then. A pressure that did not seek to kill him, but to diminish him. To strip away identity. To reduce even monsters to crawling need. A presence stirred. In the depths, an old god dreamed. Alucard stepped into a chamber carved from blasphemy. Flesh and stone twisted together into a throne of worship. The god's influence pressed against his soul, whispering promises of despair, of endless hunger, of submission. For the first time since entering, Alucard stopped smiling. You are not a god, he said quietly. You're a concept. The pressure intensified. The dungeon demanded tribute. Sanity, fear, self. Alucard laughed. The sound was vast, ancient, full of wars and slaughter and centuries of bloodshed offered willingly. Oh, sweetheart, he said, eyes blazing red in the dark. I was starving before you learned how to whisper. He opened himself, not releasing power, but revealing it. Millions of souls screamed in unison. The dungeon walls cracked. The god's influence recoiled, overwhelmed not by strength, but by excess. Too much hunger, too much violence, too much self. Alucard bowed mockingly toward the unseen presence. Better luck with the next mortal. When he left the dungeon days later, it was quieter. Not cleansed, just aware. Some hungers learned what it meant to meet something that could never be emptied. I like this title for the abridged. Fear and hunger meet gun. The dungeon was dark, oppressive, and deeply unpleasant, so naturally, Alucard loved it. Oh, wow, he said, hands in pockets, strolling past a corpse nailed to the wall. This place looks like Hot Topic and a medieval war crime had a baby. A guard charged at him immediately. Ah, yes! Alucard said, spreading his arms. Violence, my favorite flavor! The sword went through his head. The guard blinked. Alucard's face reformed around the blade. Okay, first of all, rude. Second of all, phew. The guard exploded. Alucard wiped blood off his glasses that he wasn't wearing. As he wandered deeper, the cave dwellers attacked. Bang! 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 Stop throwing naked goblins at me! I'm not Catholic! A harvestman descended from the ceiling, screeching horribly. Alucard looked up. That's new. The creature grabbed at him, dragging him into the dark, and began its ritualistic nonsense. Alucard sighed. You know, in my world, this would count as a date. Everything screamed. The harvestman did not survive. Eventually, the dungeon itself started acting up. Whispers echoed. The screen metaphorically darkened. Sanity drained. Sanity low. Alucard looked at the visible HUD. Oh no! Anyway, an old god tried to assert dominance.
You are small. You are hungry. You will break.
Alucard cracked his neck. Old buddy, pal, sport. I've eaten Nazis, priests, vampires, and the concept of authority. The god pushed harder. Alucard pushed back, turning into a literal sea of screaming blood monsters. The dungeon trembled. What are you? I'm British property damage. Silence. Alucard reformed, dusting himself off. Well, that was fun. Traumatized a god, broke several laws of reality, didn't even get a map. He looked around the corpses, despair, the sheer unrelenting misery. Huh. Still not as bad as London. He walked out whistling. Okay, that was good. That was fucking good. Oh no, oh no, oh no. All right. Write a similar story where Alucard meets the characters of Fear and Hunger. This ought to be good. Guess who would not die? The canon story. The mercenary was the first to notice him. Kahara had learned to spot danger the way rats learn to smell fire. Too late, but better than nothing. A tall man in red walked through the corridor behind them, boots echoing where none should. No chains rattled, no madness whispered his name. Just footsteps. That's not one of the monsters, Kahara muttered, hand drifting toward his dagger. Darst turned, sword half raised. Ragnvaldr narrowed his single eye. Enki said nothing, but his fingers tightened around his book. Alucard stopped a respectful distance away and bowed, mockingly formal. Well now, he said, crimson eyes glinting. Living people, that's refreshing. Ragnvaldr stepped forward. What are you? Alucard smiled wider. Oh, I'm what happens when faith, violence, and bad decisions get very cozy. Kahara exhaled sharply. Great, another lunatic. A screech echoed down the hall. Guards. Before any of them could react, the first monstrosity burst through the doorway. Alucard moved. The sound was thunder. The guard's head vanished, blood painting the ceiling. The body fell in two pieces. Silence. Darst stared. That weapon. Alucard tilts his gun.
Blessed, cursed. Depends who you ask.
More guards came. Alucard did not ask permission. He tore through them like a storm given form, dying and reforming mid-blow, shadows biting and tearing. The party fought too, steel, magic, desperation, but they realized something horrifying. This man could not lose. When it ended, Enki finally spoke.
You are undead.
Alucard looked pleased.
Gold star.
Ragnvaldr studied the remains.
Why are you here?
Alucard's grin softened. Not kinder, just older.
Same as you, he said. Someone told me there was a god at the bottom of this hole. I wanted to see if it bled. Le'Garde, bound and broken, was freed hours later.
He looked at Alucard with the eyes of a man who believed himself chosen.
You, Le'Garde said hoarsely. You could stand beside me. With your power.
Alucard leaned down, eyes glowing.
Oh no. I kneel for no one. And you don't even know what kind of monster you're trying to become.
For the first time, Le'Garde was silent. When the group reached deeper levels, sanity frayed, fear gnawed. The dungeon whispered to each of them. But when it whispered to Alucard,
it recoiled. Interesting bunch, Alucard said as they rested. Most people break down here.
Cahara laughed weakly. Trust me, we're breaking, just slowly. Alucard chuckled. Good.
Makes it last longer.
When they finally parted ways,
Alucard descending alone.
Ragnvaldr watched him go.
That thing wasn't human.
Enki nodded.
No, but it understood gods.
Far below, an old god stirred uneasily. Oh my god, here's the abridged parody. The dungeon party gets a vampire. Cahara squinted down the hallway. Is that Dracula? Alucard waved. Wrong franchise, but adorable guess. Darce immediately pointed her sword at him. Thanks for the follow, Mike. Alright, where was I? Oh yeah. Wrong franchise, but adorable guess. Oh no. But adorable guess. Darce immediately pointed her sword at him. State your allegiance. Alucard gasps. Oh my god, a knight with anxiety. I collect those. Ragnvaldr cracked his knuckles. I'll kill him. Alucard beamed. Please try. A guard burst in. Bang! Guard explodes. Alucard turned back to the group. Sorry, habit. Cahara blinked. Can we keep him? Enki stared intensely.
You are an abomination.
Alucard bowed. Flattery will get you everywhere, book boy. As they walked, Cahara tried flirting, failed miserably. Darth's act of Alucard served a god. Alucard laughed for 3 minutes straight. Ragnvaldr attempted to fight him. Alucard let him win once out of pity. Enki asked if vampirism was a curse. Alucard answered with a TED Talk on suffering. They rescued Le'Garde. You would make a powerful ally. Alucard leaned in. Oh, sweetie, I don't follow messiahs. I eat them. Le'Garde immediately reconsidered his life choices. Sanity check pops up. Alucard, sanity unknown. Dungeon whispers. Despair. Been there. Madness. Done that. No. At a fork in the path, Alucard cracked his neck. Well, kids, this is where I go punch God. Cahara nodded. Yeah, that tracks. Darce saluted. May the light guide you. Alucard smirked. Oh, it will. He walked off whistling. Ragnvaldr watched him disappear. That man was worse than the dungeon. Enki closed his book. Yes. But I would like to study him. That's so bad. It's so bad. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Right, a similar interaction with the girl. God damn it. They're just giving me all the fun shit to write it for. They're just giving me all these good prompts that I have no idea what to do with. The child who still looked forward. He noticed her immediately. Not because she was loud, not because she was important, but because the dungeon failed to erase her. The girl sat near a dying torch, knees drawn to her chest, dirt smeared on her face. She watched Alucard with the wary stillness of something hunted for too long. Her soul flickered, thin, bruised, but unbroken. Alucard stopped. That was new. Most things he met down here screamed, begged, or attacked. She did none of these.
You shouldn't be here.
She tilted her head, studying him the way children do, without fear, but without trust. I have to be, she replied. Alucard crouched, shadows curling back instinctively, as though something in him remembered manners.
This place eats people. Slowly. On purpose.
I know. Her voice was small, steady. I'm still hungry, she added after that moment. Alucard blinked. Then he laughed. Not loudly, not cruelly. A dry surprise sound. Yeah, that figures. The dungeon pressed in around them. Whispers scratched at the edges of the girl's mind. Commands, promises, destiny sharpening its knife. Alucard felt it trying to shape her, to make her useful. He stood. Pressure broke against him like waves against a cliff.
Run along, he said to the dark, eyes glowing. She's not yours yet.
The whispers withdrew. The girl looked up at him. You're scary. Alucard smiled.
Good. Keeps the worst things away.
He offered his coat. She hesitated, then took it. It swallowed her whole, warm with lingering life that refused to fade. Why are you helping me? She asked. Alucard paused. I've seen what happens to children when gods get involved, he said finally.
Doesn't usually end well.
They walked together for a time. Monsters avoided them. When they reached the crossroads, Alucard stopped.
This is where I turned back, he said. Down there is loud.
The girl nodded as if she understood more than she should. You won't come with me? He knelt, meeting her eyes.
No.
But I will make sure you get there. He placed a hand on her head. Not a blessing, not a curse. A promise. For the rest of her journey, the dungeon hesitated before striking her, as if remembering something was watching from deeper still. She looked back once. Alucard was already gone. Far below, something divine shifted uneasily. Oh no. Oh no, and oh god! Alright, time for the abridged version. Alucard turned the corner and froze. There was a small child sitting on the floor. Nope, he said immediately. I am not emotionally equipped for this. The girl stared at him. Are you a monster? Alucard squinted. Define monster. She thought about it. Do you eat people? Alucard nodded proudly. Like chips. She shrugged. Okay. I'm hungry. Alucard sighed and rubbed his face. Oh, of course you are. Everyone in this hellhole is hungry. It's like a theme. A guard charged from behind. Bang! Guard dead. Alucard didn't even turn around. The girl blinked. Cool. Alucard looked down at her. You are way too calm about that. She smiled faintly. They don't hurt me when scary people are nearby. Alucard paused. Oh no. Dungeon whispers begin. Child of destiny. No. Vessel of God. Absolutely not. Alucard's eyes glowed. Listen here, you cosmic asbestos nightmare, he said to the void. I don't know what your plan is, but she is under my very informal protection. The dungeon went quiet. The girl tugged at his coat. Are you my dad now? Alucard choked. What? No! I mean, temporarily. They walked together. Alucard shot monsters on sight. The girl held his hand. Sanity meter appears. The girl, sanity. Stable? Alucard stared at the imaginary UI. That's cheating. At a fork in the road. All right, kid. I gotta go punch a god. You go become something extremely important. The girl nodded. Will you come back? Alucard smiled. A real one. Small and sharp. If there's anything left to come back from. She waved as he left. Alucard watched her go. Huh. Didn't not expect to feel that. He then cracked his knuckles. All right, Dungeon, I want to speak to your manager. Ooh, I love it. I love it. Okay, one more. One more on this prompt and then I'm done with it. Then we find something new. Write a similar story of Alucard seeing the girl ascend. Here we go. Okay. What remains after a god is born? Alucard arrived too late, or perhaps exactly when he was meant to. The chamber was no longer stone. It had become something symbolic. Ribs. Ugh. It had become something symbolic. Ribs of reality arcing overhead, a throne carved from prayer and sacrifice. The air hummed with divinity still settling into place, like dust after a detonation. At the center stood the girl. She was taller now, not by much, but enough. Her body glowed faintly, not with warmth, but with certainty. The dungeon bent away from her, respectful, fearful. The presence that once whispered now listened. A new god had risen. Alucard leaned against a broken pillar, hat shadowing his eyes.
Damn, he murmured.
The girl turned. Her eyes were no longer human, but they recognized him immediately. You came, she said.
Wouldn't miss the graduation ceremony,
Alucard replied lightly. But the smile didn't reach his eyes. She stepped forward. Each footfall echoed like a decision made long ago. Power radiated from her, not cruel, not kind, merely inevitable. I don't feel hungry anymore, she said. Alucard closed his eyes briefly.
That's how it starts.
She studied him. You sound sad.
Perceptive. Another side effect.
The old god stirred faintly, watching their successor take shape. The dungeon waited to see what kind of divinity she would become. Will you kneel? Alucard laughed, soft, genuine.
Oh, sweetheart, I don't kneel.
She nodded. I thought not. For a moment, something like the child she had been flickered through the divinity. She reached out, not commanding, not blessing, just reaching. Alucard did not pull away. Her hand passed through his chest, touching the place where his heart used to be. You are very full, she said quietly.
Yeah, been overeating for centuries.
I won't be like the others, she said. I won't forget them. Alucard opened his eyes.
Red met gold. Try not to, he said. Gods are real bad at that.
The light intensified. The ritual was complete. When it had faded, the throne was occupied. The girl was gone. A god remained. Alucard turned away. Behind him, the dungeon exhaled, changed forever. Far above, something ancient took note. Alucard walked on, coat heavy with memories that even eternity couldn't digest. Abridged parody! Alucard accidentally attends a god's baby shower! Why did they name it that? Why did it name it that? Okay. Alucard stepped into the chamber. Bright lights, choir noises, reality screaming a little. Wow, he said. I miss one apocalypse. The girl floated several feet off the ground, glowing like a JRPG final boss. Oh hey, I'm a god now. Of course you are. Dungeon UI pops up. New god ascension complete. That seems poorly regulated. She descended gently. I don't feel scared anymore. Alucard squinted. That's bad. Why? Because fear keeps you from becoming a jerk. Am I a jerk? Oh no. You're fine now. It's later you that I'm worried about. Old gods whisper ominously. Alucard yelled at the ceiling. Don't you start! The little girl floated closer. Will you worship me? Alucard laughed so hard he bent over. Oh my god! Literally, no. She smiled. That's okay. You were never good at listening. She reached into his chest. Hey, that's a private collection. You're very loud inside. Lots of people. Yeah, it's a problem. Light flared. The girl ascended fully. Poof! Throne, halo, abstract symbolism. Alucard stared. Huh. Well, kid, don't make it weird. He turned to leave. The dungeon shaked. A divine voice echoed faintly. Thank you. Alucard paused. Don't mention it. He cracked his knuckles. All right, who else wants to be traumatized by immortality?
And it's Twitch.
Okay. Wait. We're done with the first Fear and Hunger. Write a similar story for Fear and Hunger Termina. All right. Oh, fuck. Below is a dual format crossover for Fear and Hunger Termina, focused on Alucard witnessing a Termina-style ascension. Festival, the Moon God Shadow, and World were already too late to be saved. As before, first canon, then a bridge parody. Preheville was already dying when Alucard first arrived. Not rotting, anticipating. The town breathed fear through boarded windows and blood-slicked streets. The moon above hung wrong in the sky, swollen, attentive, like an eye that had learned how to wait. Alucard felt it immediately. Not hunger, expectation.
Well, he muttered, lighting a cigarette that refused to stay lit. This place has ambition.
He followed the screams to the tower. The festival had reached its crescendo. Bodies lay scattered in ritual symmetry, contestants reduced to symbols. The air pulsed with the presence of the moon god. Not fully here, not fully gone. Rare did not descend. He observed. At the center of the ritual stood the girl. No longer a child, but not yet whole. Her form flickered between selves. Frightened survivor, chosen vessel, inevitable conclusion. Sigils burned into the ground beneath her feet, etched by human hands desperate to mean something. Alucard leaned against a broken statue, arms crossed.
Kid, you really know how to pick venues.
Her eyes snapped to him. Recognition flared. You're here, she said. Her voice echoed strangely, layered with others. I thought you wouldn't come.
Yeah, I'm bad at goodbyes.
The moonlight intensified. Rare's attention sharpened. The gods did not speak, but approved. The ritual demanded completion.
Do you know what happens next? Alucard asked.
She nodded. I stopped being afraid. He exhaled smoke that curled into the screaming faces before dissolving.
That's what scares me.
The power rose. The tower groaned. Somewhere, the last contestant screamed as their humanity slipped away. Will you stop it? She asked, not pleading, just asking. Alucard thought of all the gods he'd killed, the ones he hadn't. No, he said at last.
This one's different. It feeds on witnesses.
The moon loomed closer, reality thinned. She stepped forward willingly. I won't forget, she said, even if it hurts. Alucard straightened, red eyes blazing, not in defiance, but acknowledgement. Then you're already better than most gods, he said. The transformation was not beautiful. It was complete. Her body unraveled into symbols, memories, cycles. Fear did not vanish. It was reorganized. The moon god's shadow wrapped around her, not consuming, but crowning. When the light faded, the ritual circle was empty. Above Preheville, the moon blinked once, satisfied. Alucard tipped his hat to the sky. Try not to watch too closely, he said. Some things bite back. He walked away as the festival ended. Not saved, not undone, just concluded. Abridged parody. Alucard goes to Finland and accidentally witnesses moon stuff. Well, we're off to a great start, aren't we? Alucard stared up at the moon. Why is it doing that? The moon stared back. Alucard squinted. Rude. He followed Colt chanting to the tower, stepping over bodies like they were inconvenient speed bumps. Oh look, another ritual involving human suffering. How original. The girl stared at the center, glowing ominously. Oh hey, this is the part where I ascend. Alucard groaned. God damn it, every time. Festival status extremely bad. Alucard pointed at the UI. That seems understated. The moon pulsed. Rear's presence pressed down like a cosmic HR manager. Alucard flipped it off. I don't respect supervisory deities. The girl floated higher. I don't feel scared anymore. Alucard winced. Yep, there it is. Emotional numbness. That's god puberty. Will you stop me? She asked, tilting her head. Alucard paused. Look, kid, I could, but then the moon gets weird, the tower explodes harder, and we all end up in a bad ending wiki. She nodded. That makes sense. Light intensified, choir noises, symbolic screaming. Alucard shielded his eyes. Why does every ascension sound like a fax machine screaming? Poof. No girl. Just moonlight and consequences. The festival UI disappears. Alucard stood alone. Well, he said, lighting a cigarette that immediately turned into screaming souls. That happened. A divine whisper echoed faintly. Thank you for witnessing. Alucard looked up. Oh no, I am not signing your survey. He turned and walked away as Preheville collapsed behind him. Still better than London. Alright. Okay, I think I could do one more, but then I gotta call it a night. Alright. Here we go. First one. Witnesses to the festival. Preheville did not welcome outsiders. It tested them. The contestants had learned that quickly. Dawn noticed him first. A tall man in a red coat stood beneath the flickering street lamp. Hat tilted just enough to hide his eyes. He did not look lost. He did not look afraid. He looked like someone waiting for the world to finish embarrassing itself. Excuse me. That man doesn't belong here, Dawn muttered. Marina followed his gaze. That describes everyone. The stranger looked up. Red eyes glimmed beneath the brim. Good evening, Alucard said pleasantly. Is this where the moon cult meets, or did I take a wrong turn into Hell's waiting room? Osa stiffened. That's no ordinary undead. Gold star, Alucard replied. You can keep it. Abella tightened her grip on her wrench. Levi raised his rifle half an inch. Karen was already taking notes. You're armed, Karen said. Who are you? Alucard smiled wider. Tourist. The answer stopped mattering when the first moon-scorched thing burst from the alley. Alucard moved before anyone else. The gunshot echoed like judgment. The creature collapsed into meat and symbolism. Silence followed. Marco blinked. Holy shit. Alucard rolled his shoulder. Huh. Guess that one didn't believe in cardio. From then on, he walked with them. Not leading, not following. Observing. He watched Levi shake through withdrawals, watched Marina whisper prayers she no longer trusted, watched Don's professionalism crumble under the weight of inevitability. He saw Osa study the moon with resentment, not reverence. You're all being watched, Alucard said eventually, as they took shelter in a ruined cafe. That thing on there feeds on witnesses. Karen scoffed. And you're not worried? Alucard glanced up at the moon. I've disappointed gods before. Later, when moon-scorched horrors closed in, Alucard let himself die. Once. Twice. Just so they could see it wasn't final. Each time he rose again, laughter bubbling from his chest like something unwell but unbroken. "You're not afraid," Marina said quietly. Alucard met her eyes. "Oh, I am. I just learned not to let it steer." At the tower, where the festival's end waited, he stopped. "This is where you choose. Finish the ritual or walk away broken." Don swallowed. "And you?" Alucard tipped his hat. "I don't do endings," he said. "I do aftermaths." As they ascended, the moon watched closely. For the first time, it hesitated. And finally, the abridged parody. Alucard joins the worst group project ever. Okay. Alucard stood in the street staring at Preheville. "Why does this town feel like depression learned urban planning?" Don spotted him. "Is that man smiling?" Marina squinted. "That's not comforting." Alucard waved. "Hi, which one of you summoned the moon, and why does it look like it needs therapy?" Osa hissed. "You mock forces beyond you." Alucard leaned in. "Buddy, I eat forces beyond me." A moon-scorched monster attacks. Bang! Monster's dead. "Can we keep him?" asked Abella. "Is he real?" Levi asked, shaking. Alucard popped back after getting bisected. "Define real." Carrying furiously scribbled notes. "Immortal British vampire, possible war crime." Marco cracked his knuckles. "I like him." As they walked, Alucard roasted the moon every 5 minutes. Marina tried to psychoanalyze him. Failed. Osa and Alucard had a passive-aggressive occult duel. Levi stared at him like he was a religious experience. The moon whispered ominously. "Stop that." Moon whispers louder. "I swear to God, not you, the other one." At the tower. "Don, are you coming?" "Nah, this is your trauma arc." He waved him off. "Remember, kids, if you meet God and he asks for consent, it's lying." They ascended. The moon blinked. Alucard flipped it off. "Finland's weird," he muttered, walking away. What the fuck? Oh my gosh. It's so weird. It's so fucking weird. ChatGPT gets nuts. I'll say that. ChatGPT can be very, very nuts. Alright, so with that, I'm calling it a night. Tomorrow, I will be back to play some more. I'm thinking we'll play some more Balatro. I want to at least try and get something done in that game. I've been practicing on my phone, but it's not going well. I'll see you all tomorrow for some Balatro. Bye-bye!